evening, you are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. Oman's national football team were declared champions of the 23rd Gulf Cup after winning the final match against the UAE by a penalty shootout. The Sultanate celebrates the proud victory of winning the 23rd Gulf Cup for the second time in its history. And the injured in the glass barrier accident at Jabba International Stadium in Kuwait are recovering and being discharged gradually. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of greetings to His Majesty Akihito, Emperor of Japan, on the 29th anniversary of his assumption to the throne. Oman's national football team were declared champions of the 23rd Gulf Cup after winning the final match against the UAE at Jabba International Stadium in Kuwait yesterday in a breathtaking penalty shootout. Oman's team won 5-4. The captain of the national team, Ahmed Mubarak Kanu, won the prize of Best Player in the 23rd Gulf Cup after the excellent performance presented in the championship. This is the second time Oman wins the Gulf Cup after winning it in Muscat in 2009. His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jabbar Al Sabah, Emir of Kuwait, ordered to provide for all the needs of those injured and their parents in an accident in which a glass barrier fell at Jabbar Al Ahmed International Stadium. This was stressed by His Excellency Dr. Adnan bin Ahmed Al Ansari, the Sultanate's ambassador to the state of Kuwait. His Excellency the Ambassador clarified that a number of injured people left hospital today and others will be discharged in the coming days. His Excellency also pointed out that the accident occurred due to fans overcrowding while celebrating winning the 23rd Gulf Cup. Citizens in various governorates and wilayas of the Sultanate went out in huge processions celebrating the national team's winning of the 23rd Gulf Cup. Citizens expressed their happiness and joy for the win by penalty shootout against their sisterly counterpart, the United Arab Emirates. Meanwhile, thousands of ardent fans of the Red Team poured into Bausha Stadium to congratulate them as the jubilant team showed themselves straight away from the airport to join the celebrations.
شافوا غصب عليهم حبوا مع ذوي يحبك السما يسموه شافوا غصب عليهم حبوا مع ذوي يحبك السما يسموه رحمة ما جيب قلبك البيت يلا العماني حي الله العماني انا احبك يا عماني مجنون نحبك
After 3 excited rounds, the 4th Beautification Festival concluded its events in the Niaba of Hamra al-Jaru in the Governorate of Dahira. The one-week festival witnessed the participation of more than 850 pure camels. The conclusion ceremony was presided over by His Excellency Nasser bin Hamoud Al-Kindi, Secretary-General of Royal Court Affairs. Still to come in our news bulletin. In Melbourne, Australia, firefighters battle bushfires in extreme heat and high winds. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Arab foreign ministers met in the Jordanian capital Amman today to discuss further the repercussions of US President Donald Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Foreign ministers from Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the Palestinian Authority Egypt and the United Arab Emirates were joined by the Secretary-General of the Arab League for the meeting. US President Donald Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital in early December 2017 set off unrest across the region. It also prompted the Palestinians to reject Washington as a Mid-East peace broker, a role it has held for decades. Iraq celebrated its annual Armed Forces Day in the capital Baghdad today. Hundreds of young cadets graduating from a military academy took part in the parade to celebrate the country's 97th Army Day. The Iraqi army was formed on the 6th of January 1921 but was disbanded in 2003 after the US invasion of Iraq. Army Day is a national holiday in Iraq. Four police officers were killed today when rebels fighting against Indian rule in disputed Kashmir detonated a bomb on a street they were patrolling. Streets were deserted and shops and businesses closed when the massive blast struck the northwestern town of Sopore, hitting the police patrol. The town, which is famous for its apple orchards, was observing a strike on the 25th anniversary of a massacre when government forces killed at least 47 people. Sopore was already on high alert with hundreds of police and paramilitary soldiers patrolling the area in anticipation of anti-India protests and clashes. India and Pakistan each administer part of Kashmir, but both claim the Himalayan territory in its entirety. Nearly 70,000 people have been killed in the uprising since 1989. Malaysian Transport Minister Leo Tiong Lei said today that the investigation into the 2014 disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 will continue. He said Ocean Infinity, a seabed exploration company based in the US, which has offered to do a private search for the airliner, will search the 25,000 square kilometre expanse identified by a panel of experts. That expanse adjoins the original search zone far southwest of Australia that was identified through satellite analysis of the final hours of the flight, which apparently ended when the plane ran out of fuel. The aircraft vanished during a flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing on March the 8th, 2014, with 239 people on board. The German and Turkish foreign ministers were today taking small steps towards restoring friendlier relations after more than a year of increased tensions between their countries. Germany's Sigmar Gabriel welcomed Turkey's Mevlut Cavusoglu to his hometown of Goslar today amid a wider effort by the Turkish leadership to improve the country's strained relationship with Europe. A major irritant in relations between the two countries has been Turkey's jailing of several German or German-Turkish nationals, including a prominent journalist on terror-related charges. Cavusoglu told reporters that differences remain, but they believe they can overcome this through dialogue. Passengers were forced to evacuate via emergency slides in the cold last night after two planes collided on the ground at Toronto's Pearson International Airport. WestJet said an inbound flight from Cancun, Mexico, with 168 passengers and a crew of 6 was stationary and waiting to go to a gate when it was struck by a Sunwing aircraft moving back from a gate. The incident was shot by a passenger on board the WestJet plane. A spokeswoman said the WestJet passengers were evacuated from the aircraft via emergency slides and all were safely in the terminal and clearing customs shortly after the collision. There were no crew members or passengers aboard the other aircraft. It was being towed by the airline's ground handling service provider at the time of the incident. The Greater Toronto Airports Authority said fire crews extinguished a small fire on the Sunwing aircraft and some flight operations were affected by the incident. Residents of Carrum Downs on the southern outskirts of Melbourne were evacuated from their homes today as the bushfire edged closer. Firefighters battled extreme heat and high winds with a number of outbuildings and at least one home set alight as flames spread from nearby bushland. 2 water-bombing helicopters were brought in to help contain the blaze. Residents who were evacuated were told to congregate on a local shopping centre. About 50 fires have been reported around the state. Back to some more local news. The Ministry of Manpower requested the Public Authority for Manpower Registry to cooperate in accelerating the process of employing targeted numbers in the private sector. The authority clarified that the activation process is not useful in operation and training, but only in statistics operations and counting the percentage of job seekers to benefit from them in putting suitable development plans and issuing decisions related to the labour market. The occupying 25,000 citizens will be last until the end of the coming May, and this is the final phase of employing operations. Increasing environmental awareness for all society segments and calling to take care and preserve wildlife components in general, the Ministry of Environment and Climate Affairs inaugurated a camp of nature friends in the Wilaya of Al Kamal and Al Wafi in the Governorate of South Sharqiya to mark Gulf Wildlife Day. The camp included various programs and activities about protecting wildlife. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry calls on the private sector to enhance its efforts to contribute in national economy development and find job opportunities for citizens. The Ministry is keen to support the abilities of the commerce and industry sector through developing and preparing the general policies, studies and needed regulations to be implemented in line with strategic plans, in addition to focusing on the role of economic estates and free zones in enriching economy movement. The Directorate of Statistics in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry clarified that the number of commercial registries recorded according to legal formation during the third quarter of the previous year reached 6,415 on the commercial registry. Now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Clear skies will prevail over the Sultanate with chances of low clouds and fog late at night and early morning over the governorates of Sharqiya and Worcester and coastal areas of the Sea of Oman. Winds will be southerly to southeasterly, light to moderate. Seas will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1 metre. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Oman's national football team were declared champions of the 23rd Gulf Cup after winning the final match against the UAE by a penalty shootout. The Sultanate celebrates the proud victory of winning the 23rd Gulf Cup for the second time in its history. And the injured in the glass barrier accident at Jabba International Stadium in Kuwait are recovering and being discharged gradually. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.